All right, I know we started on this last time, but I'm going to recap a little of what we've already done. This is a sample newspaper page. There's 4 columns. There's 2 stories and 1 photo, 2 headlines, and a photo cut line. I started with zooming in and out. If I hold my finger on the Alt key and use the scroll button on my mouse, that's a really good way to zoom in and out very quickly. And the first thing I accomplished was I changed this headline up here. It says headline, and there's some lorem ipsum text. And you know lorem ipsum text is just placeholder they use when they're doing publishing. So this headline is going to be in a font called Palatino Linotype. So if I come up here, when it's highlighted, pull down to P's and find Palatino Linotype. You can also type in the word Palatino and it'll come up. That's it right there. Headlines are also bold. And this one I want it to be 48 points, a rather large headline. It disappeared. It disappeared because the box isn't big enough. So what's going to help me out is if I move this text off to the side for a minute so I can stretch this box out. Now I see the whole headline. This headline is going to have one large head and a subhead. So the subhead is going to be all the stuff underneath the original. This is my beginning headline, my large headline. And then everything from this down is going to be a subhead. I'm going to change the size of that. The size I asked for in my lesson was 23, and that is specifically so you could find 24 and then make an alteration down to 23 from there. That's that little up-down arrow, 24, 23. Lastly, to finish out this headline, I'm going to pull this box back up so that it is not taking up the entire page. What I want you to do is to figure out how to make everything one pica apart from everything else. So this is my ruler in this corner. If I pull this corner down, you can see that it changes the start point of my ruler. This 0 moves based on wherever I place the ruler. So I'm going to put this ruler on this black line. And that is how I know for sure that this headline is going to be at the 1 pica moment here, the 1 pica mark. It's going to be 1 pica from the top, and it's going to be perfectly aligned with the side there. I also need to look at the bottom of this headline. Ascending letters are letters that stick up. Descending letters are letters that stick down. So I'm going to find the bottom of this descending letter here, and that's where I'm going to put my ruler for the second measurement. Pull the ruler out, drop it right there, and that's where the 0 lives now. I also see 1 down from there, 1 pica, which is 1/6 of an inch, is where I'm going to place my story. So if I pull my story over here, then I can add 1 pica down. That's where it goes. Incidentally, scrolling back and forth, scrolling in and out, I'm using the Alt key and the wheel on the mouse to go zooming in and out. I'm using the Control key and the wheel on the mouse to go scrubbing left and right, just in case you wanted to know that one. With this now, I've got this whole story and it's spanning across all 4 columns. I'm going to grab the right edge and I'm going to push it back so that it only fills 1 column. Didn't quite make it, sorry. 1 column precisely. It's got this red plus sign here. When I click the red plus sign, my cursor becomes basically the rest of the text ready to pour out. If I click and let go just right in this column, it dumps it all the way down until the text is over. I'm going to pull the bottom up a little bit, and I get that red plus sign again. And there it is, all 4 of my columns. Next, I'm going to highlight the first 2 pieces here, the byline, so by whoever the author's name is, and then that person's position on staff. And I'm going to change that, not to regular, but to bold. And I also put it in small caps, just like this. Kind of sets the name off and apart from the rest of the text. So, this all has to line up. This has to be exactly the same height as that. Same height. Same height. And I'm going to pull these down just a little. I'm trying to leave room on those 2 right columns for the photograph. You can see there's a box with an X in it. So my photograph's going to go. But also, I need to make sure this is justified correctly. So if I double click in here somewhere, it starts highlighting. If I hit Control A, it'll highlight the whole thing. Now up on yours, this is actually going to appear where you can see it better. Mine's not showing up because my screen is too small. But the justification should be right in there. It looks like, curses. I can't locate my justification. Let me expand this out. There it is. Justification's right there. I had my screen shrunk down smaller. So justify with last line, a line left. That's how we do most news stories in the newspaper. I'll have to pull this back down to screen size for you. Sorry, it's a matter of making these films. Sometimes I make the application take up less space, and then somehow I lose a piece of the application occasionally. That is going to be pretty good, and that's where my picture's going to go. I'm feeling like it's going to come a little closer than that. One last thing, and we didn't talk about this last time, so this is really where we're picking up. If you click and highlight this whole thing with Control A, then you go to Type and pull down to the word Tabs, you're going to see where you can give it a 1 pica indentation in every single new paragraph. That's going to be these two little triangles right here, and the top one is actually the indent. So 1P0 is what it needs to say there. The bottom one, if I moved that, would do a whole number of things, but I just moved the top one. That is going to make it quite perfect. And you can wiggle things around, get them just right. I also put a jump here when a story goes from one page to another. When we have a big story on the front page, let me pull this back up so it doesn't kind of take up all this space. When we have a big story on the front page and it doesn't entirely fit on the front page, quite often we jump it to another page. We did that with the first paper this year. We had the football story jump to page 8. So when you highlight this, it says see Laura on page 3. You're going to change it the same way you changed the byline for the writer. You're going to pull regular down to bold, and you're going to make it small caps. Using that slightly different font is, it's similar enough to the rest of the paper so that it looks consistent and it looks classy, but it's different enough that it sets it apart, makes it so that it's not part of the story. It's clearly something different. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to put the photograph in here. So if you take your black arrow, you're going to click on this box. This is a rectangular frame box. It's something we use sometimes to save space for a photo before the photo is actually taken. And when I click on it, I can move this tabs box out of the way. I see that there's nothing in it. I can go to File and I can say Place. That's how you put a photograph into a space like that. You select the space first, and then you say File, Place. The photo is one that I put in that folder, so if you haven't found it yet, go to Student Share, go to Dunlap, go to 2, and go to Photo. That is a picture of fruit in my kitchen. Take a picture of the fruit bowl. What you want to do is when you're placing a photo, it actually places inside the frame actual size. There's two different arrows here. There's the black arrow and the white arrow. The black arrow will change the size of the box the picture is in. So if I click with the black arrow, the box gets smaller. If I click with the white arrow, that actually changes the size of the photograph in the frame. So if I click with the white arrow, I can make the picture much smaller. Move it around. Make it teeny tiny. See? Now, what you want to do, and I'll put this all back how it was. I click this photograph box, and I say File, and I say Place, and I take the photo, and I put it in that box. What I want to do is I want to use the white arrow to size the picture so that it matches the box. But I want to do it very particularly. I want to take my finger and put it on the Shift key on the keyboard while I grab the corner. I don't want to grab the top or bottom. I don't want to grab the side or side. I want to grab the corner with the Shift key down so that the scale stays correct. And I'll show you the difference in what I'm talking about in just a moment. If I grab the corner with the Shift key down, the scale stays correct. Looks pretty good. Now if I don't grab the corner with the Shift key down, look at the shape of the fruits. Look at the shape of the little oranges. If I just make the box fit the picture, it squishes everything. It doesn't look correct. I don't like that. People don't like that when you do that to your heads. You know, if you have pictures of someone's face and you squish their face, they don't much care for it. So we're going to do it correctly by holding down the Shift key. Lastly, we're going to put a cut line on the photo. So I'm going to switch over to my selection tool, the black arrow, and I'm going to take this is my cut line, and I'm going to put it right under the picture. So I'm going to squish this box down a little bit with the black arrow so that it fits across two columns. When we do a photo cut line, we tend to do the text of the cut line, the text that tells you about the photograph. We do that in italics. you highlight that, you can change it to italics. And then we do the credit for the photo the same way, small caps in bold, as we do anything else. You want to put that a pica away from the bottom of your picture, so you pull down this ruler and you measure a pica, and then you pull this up to that 1 pica mark. And there it is. Now, this isn't quite perfect. We want to line everything up. This is one of the most tedious parts of making a newspaper page, is lining everything up so that it is perfect. It's a little frustrating. How'd I do? Not bad. You can also, and this is a little old-timers trick, use your black arrow, and you can say, well, this is too much space, but I don't want to move everything else around, so you can actually just stretch the box out a little if it's too much. Okay, so that's the top half, and the bottom half is coming next here. We're going to put another picture. We're actually going to change the number of columns. So this bottom portion is going to be 3 columns wide. There's going to be a 32-point headline on it, and that's going to be all we do to it. When you go to layout and you say you want to find the margins and columns, that's the box that'll come up. Right now I have 4 columns, now I have 3. Easy enough. So to make it 3 columns, I'm just going to click on this with the black arrow, drag this back, get my red plus sign, click, red plus sign, click, and we've got it. Got myself 3 columns. We're going to even those up and work on them after we get the headline down, but I suspect everything will fit correctly. Here's my headline. If I highlight that, I'm changing it. It's already Palatino linotype. Would you look at that? Bold, and I said 32 a minute ago. There's 30, 31, 32. Same thing happened the second time. The box wasn't large enough, so we're going to stretch the box out and make it large enough. The bottom letter here is this descending letter, so let me find the end of that. And then 1 pica away from that is perfect. Now the bottom of this here is the descending letter. You can pull this up if it bothers you. So we're going to get 1 pica away from the bottom of that. Also perfect. Everything else should match. And a couple more things. This one's already got the indentations. It's already got the 1 pica tabs. Remember when we did with that type tabs box? It's already the right way. See it? So we're not going to sweat that. We're going to highlight this piece, make small caps, make it bold, and then we are going to highlight everything, and we're going to change the alignment. So Control A, and this is that alignment. I'm going to make my window larger so I can see it again. There's the alignment, justification rather. Click that to justify it correctly. Now I'm going to put it back so you can see it again. And I think I got 1 more line to pull down on each of these. 1 more, 1 more, 1 more. And that's it. That is perfect. If you have this, if you have the headline on top with 2 different sizes in bold Palatino linotype, if you have the credits in bold Times New Roman, small caps on both stories and on the photo, if you have italics on the photo, if you have justified text in all your stories with the last line aligned left, if you have bold small caps on your jump, and you have your photograph placed correctly where the fruit is not squished down, then you may have the entire grade for this whole darn thing. Show it to me. If you hit Control and the 0 key on your keyboard, you know how Control plus and Control minus are zooming in and out? Control and 0 will just make it full screen like that. It's a nice little shortcut also. So show me that. Make sure you save it to your folder, and I'll take a look at it before we leave class today. Thank you.